Hi, I'm Danielle Davenport. I want to talk today about avoiding costly mistakes and being able to extract full value for buying or selling rural property. It does require expertise, and you wouldn't hire a residential agent to sell a 40-unit apartment complex. Why would you hire one to buy land or any sort of rural property? It's not residential real estate, it's a specialized asset class. And as an accredited land consultant, I want to share a few facts with you. The difference between expertise and experience can really mean a 23% lost profit for sellers, a 26% increased cost for buyers, and a 38% higher chance in litigation due to disclosure mistakes. I want to highlight the three biggest challenges in rural real estate today and avoid leaving money on the table. Challenge number one is inexperience is expensive. And no two rural properties are alike. Inside the city limits, pricing is often straightforward: square footage, upgrade, school districts. In rural property, you're evaluating zoning regulations, water rights, septic system, soil stability, easements and boundaries, the ability to expand your property or turn it into something else, conservation restrictions, infrastructure access, and about 70 other variables. A standard comparable market analysis simply doesn't work. And rural valuation requires exhaustive due diligence to determine usability and highest and best use. I've seen property sell for 50 to 80% below market value simply because the listing agent didn't understand growth patterns or urban service expansion. Now, that is completely avoidable. You really would not want to make that mistake. The challenge number two is zoning and usability complexity. In California, especially, rural land is layered with regulation. You're not just dealing with county zoning, you may also be navigating general plans, strategic expansion, LAFCO service boundaries, coastal commission if you're anywhere near the coast, conservation overlays, biotic constraints, water district production limits. One of my clients purchased a large parcel intending to build a 5,000 square foot estate for his family. Unfortunately, biotic constraints were never validated. He was unable to do that. The property was deemed unbuildable. The mistake cost him essentially a lot of time, capital, and opportunity. Now he's sitting with some dirt. Rural due diligence must align with your intended use, whether that's development, farming, investment, or lifestyle. Otherwise, you may discover a neighboring subdivision planned, a high density rezoning, environmental limitations, infrastructure delays. Usability defines the value. Challenge number three: rural properties can contain extraordinary upside, but they can also hide extraordinary expense. For example, infill grading disposal could cost 500,000, improper well registration, base annual production water limits, environmental contamination. Did you know that if you go by rural land and you see that there's big mounds of dirt, that in order to get any sort of environmental through, you're going to have all of that dirt tested to see where it came from, and you better know and have a history of where that dirt was delivered from, because they want to know exactly what was in it and where it came from. However, on the upside, you could have expansion path positioning, which really turns ag value or rural value land into a highly valuable asset. And we also want to understand what the zoning changes are and what the overlays are. There's multiple overlays that you may be exposed to. When property is analyzed, these factors have increased value over 48%. The key is knowing how to extract them. So those are really the three challenges going back, just saying that inexperience can be really costly. Challenge two is the zoning and usability complexity and hidden value and hidden costs. There is a little bonus here that if it's under 5 acres, I want to talk about financing and insurability. Conventional lenders can work. Now, if you're over 5 acres and you're working with a regular agent and they try to list it without looking at the different financing options, then you could be limiting your buyer pool, and you really need to understand that. There could be longer underwriting lead times. It might not even be financeable through the traditional route. It may require commercial. So you need to understand those, because that's going to limit your buyer pool. Or also, if you're working with the buyer is going to be limited in terms of what they can purchase based on the size, the acreage, the usability, how many structures are on there, all of that. I've seen transactions fall apart because the wrong loan product was used, costing sellers 8 months and 11% of their profit. And the reason is you get into contract and you think this residential mortgage is going to work. It doesn't. You fall out of contract. Your property looks blighted, hits the market again. People come in and lowball. You don't want that to happen. Now, we also want to understand that insurance is critical. When underwriting and then getting an insurance binder, there's three things that they look for: it's slope, density, and proximity. Now, those variables can vary drastically and impact the cost. So something to really think about when you're looking at properties or going to sell is even though you have an insurance policy on it today, the new buyer may not be able to get one tomorrow. So something to think about. And then in closing, let's extract the full value. Rural real estate is complex. And when handled correctly, it can be one of the most rewarding asset classes available. The difference is expertise and having the right experience behind you. If you're considering selling or purchasing 1 acre plus, let's make sure you don't leave money on the table or inherit a hidden risk. Thanks, Danielle Davenport, and let's talk.